Imagine you worked for someone for 40 years. And at the end, you realize no matter how great your career was, basically you dedicated your life to this guy's business. You pretty much gave up your dreams, your other ambitions, basically your family and everything. And you only wanted one more thing. You wanted to retire with just one thing that was so important to you. Do you think that when you would ask for that one thing, you'd mention all the things that you had done for this other person? Well, I'll tell you, Moses did not do that. And Moses basically did not get what he wanted. Why not? My name is Rabbi Wyne. I'm one of the rabbis at Inspiring Jews. Welcome to the Life is Great podcast. This idea that I'm going to share with you today will be transformative. It's super important if you want a relationship with any person. And yes, it can be transformative if you want a relationship with the Almighty. Why is it that Moses, at the end of 40 years, we talk about in Parshas Vayeschanan, this is literally a month before Moses dies, and he stops and he wants to go in the land of Israel. The rabbis teach us that he asked God 515 times to go in the land of Israel, and God, at the end of the day, said, no, you're not going to go. I'll show you the land of Israel, but you're not making it to the promised land. In a certain sense, none of us make it to our promised land. We all have dreams and ambitions and desires. We want to go. And it's a little comforting when you think about it. Moses did not make it to his promised land. If we don't make it to our promised land, we're now worse than Moses. But there is something that's a little different. Moses never threw into God's face all the things that he did do. And let's face it, nobody did more for God than Moses. There he is, he's shepherding the sheep in the desert. And all of a sudden God calls him and says, Moses, come over here. Take off your shoes. The ground that you stand upon is holy. Go back to Egypt where they want to kill you. Put your life in danger and to redeem the Jewish people that are slaves. Moses doesn't want to go, but eventually he goes. Then he has to stand before Pharaoh. He gets totally humiliated. Then he spends a year administering the 10 plagues, watching how the Egyptians are getting totally destroyed at his hand, even though these Egyptians a bunch of them are really horrible people. Imagine being the guy who's administering the divine justice, so to speak, to all of this. Then he leads the Jewish people across the sea, fights many wars. The Jewish people complain. He's got to defend the Jews, as they worship the golden calf, and then they refuse to go in the land of Israel. And all the while, Moses is God's emissary. He's the lawgiver. He gives everything he has. And by the way, Moses' children do not take over for him. You got to remember that. He pretty much gave up his family as well. And so now he just wants one thing. God, I want to go in the land of Israel. And it's the word that is used in the Bible for this is Vayeschanan. Vayeschanan, the rabbis tell us, is the way righteous people pray to God. They ask for free. They say, God, you know what? I don't want anything. It always denotes asking us for a free gift, even though the righteous have good deeds upon which to rely on. They never ask God for that. I scratched your back, you scratched my back. No one did more for God than Moses. Moses kept silent. Would we keep silent? Well, truth is, the reason he kept silent was trifold. There's 3 reasons that when we get these reasons, you really understand the relationship that you should have with God. It's really incredible. The first reason why you don't turn to God and say, hey, God, look what I did for you. Now do something for me, is because whatever God has already given you way outpaces whatever you could ask from God. You realize that? Think of the 5 things that you've asked from the Almighty recently. Now, think of 5 gifts that he's already given you. What would you trade, right? You asked for a little more money. Well, would you trade your eyesight for a little more money? Your family, the fact that you're Jewish, your mind, You asked God for a healing, that your mother should feel well. Okay, would you trade one of your children so that your mother would feel better and then live a little while longer, right? The Almighty gives us so many things all the time, every day. Every time we wake up in the morning and, you go to the bathroom and you think of an idea and you accomplish something. And here you're coming up and you have your grocery, your shopping list. You're turning to God, God, give me this, that, the other thing. But God's already given you so much. So righteous people live with that sense of gratitude. Do you want to be a righteous person? Live with a sense of gratitude. That's like the basic. If we don't have gratitude for what God has already given us, then we will not have gratitude for what God's going to give us. That's a huge point. So therefore, the rabbis explain that when righteous people ask something from God, they don't ask, God, I did this for you, now you did that for me. They just say, I know you love me more than I could love my children. You've already given me so much. I'm not asking for anything more. That's the first reason. The next reason why righteous people, when they ask something from God, they say, God, give it to me as a freebie. And they don't throw in all the things they've done for God, is because they realize the only reason they could do things for God is because God allowed them to in the first place. Imagine this just for a minute. What gave you the ability to do any mitzvah, to do any kind deed, to help, to do anything significant in your life? If the Almighty gave you a tummy ache, you wouldn't have done it. If God took away your money, you wouldn't have done it. If you were born in Kandahar, right, you probably would not have been in the position that you are in now in order to do the good stuff that you're doing. So putting it on perspective, it's not a transaction. When we talk about, God does for me and I do for God, it's not an even transaction. Righteous people understand God needs nothing from us. God, he wants nothing from us. He's perfect. He's infinite. There's nothing you can do for God. What's 1,000 plus infinity plus 1,000, right? You can't give anything to God. He's already infinite. He's already perfect. So no matter what we do, we can't add to him, and he doesn't need us to do it. That's going to lead us to another question we'll come to, like, why do we have the mitzvahs? Why does he give his commandments if he doesn't need us to do it? But just on the first level, just let's absorb this one point. God needs nothing from us. Everything God does is for us. Needs nothing from us. It's a very big misconception in Judaism. And by the way, generally I think if people don't understand Judaism, it's because they haven't learned. Well, one time it was a few times, I had the opportunity to learn Torah with I don't want to say who he is, but he and his band, he's the lead singer for a band who is inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he's an incredibly talented person. And I'm sitting there learning with him for a few hours. He explains to me he was born in Israel. And he went to one of the most highly respected yeshivas in New York growing up. He went there for many years. And I turned to the guy because publicly he lives his image is that he's very, very perverse. I would never question a person's private life, but his public image, and as a rock star, is one of very promiscuous and very, very schmutzy, so to speak. So I turned to the guy and I say, you went to one of the finest yeshivas growing up. You know Judaism. Tell me something. Why don't you keep Shabbos? Why don't you keep kosher? Why don't you there's so many commandments. Why don't you uphold, stand up like Super Jew? And with your career in music. He turns to me and he says, Rabbi, I don't want to pray to any God that needs me to do something for him. I don't believe in any God that needs me to do something for him. And I said, that's amazing, because you and I don't believe in the same God. Because I also don't believe in a God that needs me to do something for him. And what was so amazing about this is somehow the person went to yeshiva, and that's how he came up with this idea that God needed him to do mitzvahs, that God needs him to do mitzvahs. I don't exactly know how he got that idea, but the people that are real with who God is, the fact that he's perfect and all giving, and there's nothing we can do for him, they know that it's just a pleasure to do mitzvahs. They know that the reason why does God command us to do 613 commandments and many more add-ons from the rabbis if he doesn't need anything from us? Well, because each one is our pleasure. The 613 commandments each one is a principle for attaining pleasure in this world. Now, that means that, let's say I take a commandment like giving charity. So if I give charity, I should get great pleasure out of it. If I don't get pleasure out of it, in as much as God created me, and he gave me a commandment that should give me pleasure, if I don't find it pleasurable, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with the commandments. That means there's something wrong with me. That means that, in a certain sense, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I should be doing, right? If it comes to Shabbat, if I think that Shabbat is restrictive and, imprisoning, because I can't speak on my phone, I can't get in the car, I can't drive, I can't go to work, there's nothing wrong with Shabbat. It means there's something wrong with me and how I understand and how I relate to Shabbat. God is perfect. I'm the one who's got to grow and change. So the reason I wouldn't turn to God and say, hey, God, listen, I do this, I've done this, that, and the other thing for you. The reason I wouldn't, so now you do something for me, is because that seems to imply that God needs me to do these things. But he doesn't need me to do these things. Allows me to do these things so I can get more out of my life. It's kind of similar to like if you turn to your kids and you say, hey, listen, I want you to say please and thank you. Now, do you need your kids to say please and thank you? Not really. You don't need it. You're not going to melt away for kids don't say please and thank you. But your kids need to say please and thank you because you don't want them to grow up to be selfish animals. So therefore you teach them, say please and thank you. The Almighty gives us all these commandments, not because he needs us to do them, but he wants to give us tools so that we can be our best people that we can be. That's why we're given these commandments. So nonetheless, there is a concept that and we all know people like this who feel their lives are so incredibly blessed, they want to give something back. So they give charity, they give their time, they help other Jews. Maybe they stop and say, you know what, thank you, God, I will observe a little bit of Shabbat, or maybe I won't eat pig or something because I realize you've been so good to me. So I want to do something Jewish in that realm. That is a very appropriate response. That's a great response because that's just showing gratitude to God. It's like you turn to your parent. Think of a parent-child relationship. So parents, what do? They give birth to children. They feed them, clothe them, educate them. They give them life. So what is a child? What should they do with their parents? Well, they should respect their parents. So how do they respect their parents? Does that mean they have to do everything the parent says? No, that's not Jewish law. You don't have to agree with your parents. You don't have to do everything they tell you to do. That's we'll talk about that in another Life is Great podcast when we'll talk about honoring parents. But you have to show them that you appreciate the life they've given you. So how do you do that? How do you show your parents that you appreciate the life that they've given you? Well, use your life to the best of your ability. It's like if someone comes over for dinner and they bring you a beautiful tablecloth. They say, thank you so much for having me for dinner. Here's a tablecloth. So you want to show them you appreciate the tablecloth. What do? Do you say, thank you for the tablecloth? Now that you gave me something, I want to give you something. Here, take your tablecloth back. You don't do that. You take the tablecloth and you use it. If you want to show God that you appreciate everything he's given you, use your life well. How do I use my life well? I use my life in accordance with the 613 commandments, with all of Jewish tradition, because those are God's instructions for living to tell me how to get the most out of my life. So when I pray to God, righteous people, they don't say, God, I scratch your back, you scratch my back, because it's not a transaction. It's not an equal transaction over here. It's a dynamic that God is the giver and we are the receivers. Why would God give us commandments to do? Not because he needs us to do them, because it's our pleasure. What if I don't find that they're pleasurable? Work on it. Find a good rabbi and learn from him. Find a good community, a good Jewish community, and learn from the community how to engage in these commandments in a way that they are pleasurable. That's really what that's all about. And when we recognize this, we have to, one more element of this is that imagine you had an employee one time and you hire him to be the manager of your company. And he comes in and you say, okay, listen, this is the building you're going to use. And this is your staff, your salespeople, your administrative staff, the computer systems, the marketing, everything. You're in charge. Make $1 million. So what does the guy do? Goes out there. He's an organized fellow. He knows how to sell. He organized everybody well. After 1 year, profits are up 20%. After 2 years, they're up 100%. After 3 years, they're up 500%. And now he comes over to you and says, okay, boss, sign over the company to me. So what are you talking about? He goes, look how successful I am. Look how much money I'm making. Look, it's my company. It's great. I run the thing. And you turn to him and say, hold on. Who gave you the building? Who gave you the staff? Who gave you the customers? Who gave you everything? Who gave you all this talent? The foolish employee will be frustrated and angry. Say, no, I need a bigger piece of the pie. But the smart employee says, thank you. I have so much gratitude. It's been my pleasure to build this company. You know what? Give me more opportunity to build more. I'll take a piece of the company, but not demanding, saying, you owe me because I took everything you had and I worked it. It's not you owe me. God doesn't owe us anything. That's the final point here. The Almighty owes us nothing. We live in a generation that it's so easy to be an ingrate, to expect everything. And in reality, the happy employee is one of gratitude. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Look what I can do. Look what I've done. I've accomplished so much because you set me up for this. That's the grateful employee. And that's the grateful person. The person who lives a great life says, wow, thank you, God. Not you gave me a voice, you gave me talents, you gave me a mind, you gave me a body, you gave me a family, you gave me intelligence, you gave me creativity. And God, now look at all the mitzvahs I've done. That's not the successful person. The successful person is, God, you gave me a voice, you gave me a mind, you gave me a family, you gave me a community, you gave me talents, and look at everything I've done. Thank you. Thank you for the pleasure of bringing godliness and goodness in the world. The person who does that, that's a grateful person. That's a successful person. My name is Wyne, one of the rabbis at Inspiring Jews. Please join me again at the Life is Great podcast. You can send me all your questions at rabbiyitzwine@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and share it. Find 5 of your friends that you love, that you want to enhance their life, and immediately right now send this podcast to 5 of your friends.